the news of the disaster in Bantry Bay, the third stage of the French invasion plan went ahead. Braving a British blockade of the French port of Brest, the French sailed for Bristol. But the tides were against them, so they headed for the Pembrokeshire coast of Wales. The last invasion of Britain, where a foreign army actually landed, took place here, at Fishguard, in West Wales, in February 1797. This quiet village really is one of the forgotten places in British history. Believe it or not, when the French appeared around the point over there, this small and charming fort was the first line of defence. Hardly the place to save the nation. This modest fort had been built in 1781 to fend off raids by American privateers. The only substantial remnant of it today is the magazine where gunpowder and cannonballs were stored. But at the time of the invasion, this solidly built magazine was virtually empty. The people of Fishguard were obliged to pay for the ammunition for the guns of this fort. So, in consequence, there were only 3 cannonballs like this in the place. This is a 9-pound shot. The fort did at least fire a blank and deterred the French from landing in Fishguard itself. They headed on round the coast. The 1,400-strong French force, known as the Black Legion, was led by a mercenary commander, Colonel William Tate, an Irish-American who developed a hatred of the British during the American War of Independence. Tate's orders were to raise an insurrection among the poor and set alight the flames of revolution. So, Bill, how serious was this invasion threat?
At the time, it delivered a huge psychological blow to the British government, because the defences had not only been tested, but had been breached by a small expedition that had sailed right through the blockade of Brest like a knife through butter. And the whole British strategy had been that the British Navy could never ever have its blockade broken. So this was a major threat. And to come to a place like this and to get 50 tons of equipment ashore and 47 barrels of gunpowder ashore, 2,000 stands of arms, this showed that these people really knew their business.
In the early hours of the morning, 25 grenadiers of the Black Legion came looking for a headquarters for Tate. They came up to Trahowell Farm and went around this side here. The first thing they did, being soldiers, was to burst their way in and pillage the place. Gone to ground. Oh, Mrs. Edwards, down Crookshank. Hello, can I come in and look at Tate's headquarters?
That's right. Yes.
Now. Good Lord, Miss Edwards, so this is the room that Colonel Tate used for his staff meetings as his headquarters. This is actually the room, is it?
It is, yes, yes.
What a wonderful room. Are there any mementos of Tate's time around here?
Yes, there are. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
These
musket balls.
That's right.
French, like 50 caliber musket balls. My goodness, where did you get these from? Were they in the house? Or?
Not in the house. They were found on the coast, just where the French landed.
Oh, so these are dropped by the Black
That's right.
Legionnaires. I must say, Mrs. Edwards, standing here, it's an amazing thought, isn't it? This room housed the headquarters of the last enemy army to invade Britain.
Yes, quite so.
Very historic and actually rather moving. As local people fled in panic, Tate sent his troops out to forage for food and means of transport for the march north to Chester and Liverpool. But ominous signs were emerging. Some of the troops were cold, hungry, and turning mutinous. One party of dispirited French foragers came here to the medieval parish church. They set fire to it, probably just to warm themselves up. Fortunately, though, the West End, with its splendid roof timbers, survived. The problem was that almost half the Black Legion were hardened criminals released from some of France's most notorious jails. Set free on Welsh soil, they drank themselves into a frenzy and went on the rampage. This is the site of the first and last firefight of the invasion. The engagement is called the Battle of Frenchman's Field. That's here. 5 French foragers came from over there, from the French encampment, and round about here met a body of vigilante sailors coming up from Milford Haven. There was an exchange of musketry, and when the smoke had cleared, 1 Frenchman was dead, and he's still here, buried in this field in that corner over there. 2 French were wounded, and the rest had fled. A small victory for the British. Tait had witnessed the Battle of Frenchman's Field from his vantage point high up on a mound of rocks, now known as Tait's Seat. He must have been wondering what would happen when his troops faced real soldiers. On a hill over there above Fishguard, he saw figures dressed in scarlet and black. They looked, for all the world, like regular British soldiers. He looked hard. The legend is that they were Welsh women dressed in their traditional costume conducting this experiment. The women are over there on the right location, and I'm where Tait stood. It seems quite feasible that they really could have been mistaken for regular British troops. 3 days into the invasion, Tait conceded defeat. The eventual build-up of British forces, together with a total lack of support from the Welsh, had sealed his fate. Their big mistake, of course, was to send over undisciplined men who misbehaved and alienated the locals here from the high ideals of the French Revolution. But also, the French, in their revolutionary zeal, had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of nonconformist West Wales, where the people hated the atheism of the French Revolution even more than they hated rule by an English aristocracy. But as the new century dawned, the threat was about to reach a new intensity.